Do you need to declutter your computer, maybe some programs, maybe your life, maybe your house? Well, today we are talking all about decluttering with a really fantastic guest. Can't wait for you to hear all her wisdom and gold. Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Well, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 145 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I sincerely appreciate you making me one of them. I know I say that every single week, but I truly am grateful that you've chosen to listen to my podcast and give up some of your time to do so. If you're a first-time listener, then super welcome. Otherwise, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode. I am, of course, the host, Jen Donovan, and it's my job via this podcast, social media, and just about everywhere else I hang out to make your business life simpler. And hey, talking about simpler, my guest today is Mel from Simply Mel, and we are talking all about decluttering, digital decluttering in your business, and touching also on some decluttering inside your home. Mel also chats to us about why we should be thinking about decluttering and how important it is for our business growth and our personal growth as well. This is something I definitely need to practice more in business and life, decluttering. That's what I need to practice more. But I really did enjoy this little chat that I had with Mel, and I really hope you do too. Mel is obviously a declutter coach. Sorry, I should have said that a little bit more succinct. Mel is a declutter coach, a mum, a wife, and a minimalist, although she admits that her family is not a minimalist family. When you have family, radical minimalism can be just unrealistic. So Mel coaches others to focus on decluttering their home and simplifying their way to help them make a happier life that suits them, not anyone else, that just suits them. So go and grab a cuppa or settle into your walk or your drive and have a listen to Mel's wisdom around decluttering. Mel, my decluttering queen, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast to talk to us about decluttering our lives today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jen. I'm really looking forward to this chat. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, so it's good to finally be here and have a good chat about all things decluttering. I'm obsessed with decluttering, I guess you could say.
Perfect. Mel, for my audience who perhaps don't know you as well as I do, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what your business is?
Yeah, sure. So my business is under the brand Simply Mel. And I am from Sydney. I'm a declutter coach and consultant, and more on the virtual side. So I don't go into people's homes. I have done that in the past and gone and helped them declutter. And it's more about decluttering than organizing. So I got into minimalism about 5 years ago and really discovered a passion for decluttering, because I basically, was drowning in clutter with my two young kids. I just had my second baby, and, you have all the baby stuff and all the toys and all the clothes, and yeah, there's pictures from my home from that time that I often look back at and laugh, because I can't believe I used to put up with that. But yeah, through decluttering my own home, I discovered a passion for helping other people. So I guess my foray into helping other people too was documenting it on YouTube. So, I was on maternity leave, when you're on maternity leave, you start thinking about what you can do that's a bit creative and have something for yourself as, a busy mum. When you stop working too, or you take a break from working and you're absorbed in your family, you kind of still need something for yourself. So yeah, I started a YouTube channel, and all those videos are still up, and I still occasionally post as well. And you can go and watch me declutter my house.
Oh, wow. Don't think I've gone and watched those. I will have to put a link in the show notes to those so we can all go and have a bit of a look at you decluttering your house. I think once a year we do the big declutter in my house and we go room by room, weekend after weekend, just so every room gets a bit of a spring clean as such. But I guess my audience on the podcast today, Mel, is mainly small business owners. So I know you talk a little bit about digital decluttering. So, can you tell us a little bit about digital decluttering and how that can help the small business owners, some of which are thriving, some of which are in lockdown, some of which are pulling their hair out at the moment? So, across the board, how does digital decluttering, what is it and how does it help us?
Well, digital decluttering is basically decluttering your virtual space, and that could be, just on your physical computer, your files, photos, things like that. It could be decluttering your schedule, because often as business owners we think we need to be across everything, or we need to speak to everybody and book ourselves out with lots of commitments, or we need to be on every platform. So it's about, freeing up your schedule and commitments as well, and not, overcommitting, and really prioritizing what's important to you. And a bit of it comes into having simple systems as well. So as entrepreneurs, we have a lot of creative ideas or ideas for projects we want to do. I used to call it shiny object syndrome, but then I had a business coach who told me it's actually a superpower. If you turn it into a superpower and don't let it rule you and get you too distracted, it can be a superpower, because all sorts of wonderful ideas and initiatives can come out of that. So I do have a shiny object superpower, and sometimes it's good to know, what is really something you want to do and what is not, and not try and basically overwhelm yourself with thinking you need to do everything right now. So it's a bit of decluttering the ideas, or even just having a system for keeping ideas down and prioritizing them, and then making sure you're hyper focused on one thing at a time.
Yeah, okay. So what's the first step? So what little pieces of gold can you give us for decluttering our digital presence? I know myself, every time I go in to find something I've created in Canva, I'm like, where is that? I know I did it, but it's just this big mess. And my inbox isn't much better, but we'll move on from me.
Well, things like files, I would say folders, folders, folders. So
Yep.
I always say decluttering is key, but also folders on the organizing part, categorizing things so that you can find things again. But also, as you go, knowing what is really important for you to keep or not. So sometimes I might
Mm,
create a graphic or a post in Canva. I might create 3 different versions of it and then pick the one that I actually want to push publish on. I might not like the other 2. So I've been trying to get into the habit of deleting things as I go, rather
mhm.
than just letting everything sit there and pile up, because, 80% of it you'll probably never use again. Same thing with my YouTube videos. I have a lot of raw footage. And so what I tend to do is keep the raw footage on an external hard drive and save the final one, to the end platform, but also on my Google Drive. I love Google Drive for my final files, but I don't keep all the raw footage onto Google Drive, because I know that the chances of me going back and using that footage again is pretty slim. But I have it on the external backup drives if I need it. And then maybe in a couple of years, when I look at those videos and go, that was terrible, what I do now is so much better. I can actually wipe those drives and reuse them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I try and do things as I go. And it's even when I take a lot of pictures for social media on my phone, I try at the end of every week just to go through and select all the ones that I haven't favorited, because you know how sometimes you'll take 10 photos of your kids and then you'll have a couple of favorites. What I do is I favorite a couple of them, and then either the same day or maybe later in the week, I'll go back and delete all the ones that I haven't favorited, because I know I won't use them.
Yeah, right. Talking about your phones, I used to love it when we used to be on airplanes with nothing much to do. That was my one job. I used to go through my like 2000 photos and just delete all the ones I didn't want anymore. And, because I was on an airplane probably once a quarter, it was a good way of doing it. But now there's no airplanes. So I don't have that downtime anymore to do that. So, yes, my phone has a lot of photos in it for sure. You mentioned just earlier about when we were talking about decluttering and you were talking about not filling your schedule up. I think that's one thing small business owners find really hard, especially ones that are probably more service based that are taking appointments quite often. What are your tips around saying no?
Well, I think, yeah, it's hard because I'm a people pleaser by nature. So a
Hmm.
lot of people, you don't like confrontation or you don't feel like you're letting people down. But I think people respect you if you give it a reason. And sometimes it's not no forever. It's just a no right now. I don't have
Yeah,
time for it.
good point.
Yeah. So, if I'm not a huge person on, I don't have a huge following on social media, but there have been a couple of people where I've met and we thought, oh, maybe we'll do a collaboration on a podcast similar to what we're doing today. And then my schedule gets full, or you might, start listening to podcasts and feel like it's not in alignment with what you're doing. Or they might, have suddenly just dropped off the face of the earth and not podcast anymore, but they still want to come on your podcast, and you think, well, I don't know if that's aligned. But so it's okay to say no, not right now. Even if it's not no forever. And I think, there's a lot of scripts out. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups and I see a lot of people giving advice on a really kind way to say no so that you don't feel bad. And you really do have to respect your time
Yeah.
because there's only 24 hours in a day. And so prioritizing is really key. Yeah, we can't be
Mm.
everything to everybody all the time.
Yeah, you are so right. And I must admit, like Facebook groups are a big time suck and they are something once every 12 months, like that break December, January, I try and go and unjoin a whole heap of groups that I didn't use in that 12-month period type of thing as well.
I do that as well.
Because otherwise, you can just belong to so many and, you forget that you've joined. They might be amazing groups, but you've forgotten. So you've moved on from there for sure. And the
Yeah,
other
well,
thing
one
that,
thing I
oh,
do
sorry,
just on
go.
the Facebook thing, you know how you can snooze a group for 30 days so you don't see any
Mm,
notifications on your feed. So sometimes if I'm not quite sure whether or not it's going to have value to me in the future, I might snooze it for 30 days and then it'll switch back on after 30 days and I'll see it and go, oh, I haven't seen that in a while, but I really didn't miss it. And if I didn't miss it, then I actually leave the group. So that's another one if you're,
that's
another
awesome.
tip. Yeah, if you're sitting on
Yeah.
the fence about it and you think, oh, but that might be useful, and you're not quite ready to leave the group, just snooze it for 30 days and see if you actually miss it for that month.
Yeah. That's a
But
great tip.
social
Mm,
media is a time suck. So I periodically unfollow some of my Instagram accounts, or sometimes
mhm.
if they're friends of mine, even if I don't want to see their stuff in my feed because it's not what's motivating me at the moment, or I might feel a bit comparisonitis, about how someone else is doing in their business journey, because that's a real thing, right? For all
Yep.
of us, we often compare ourselves, but I don't want to unfollow them or defriend them because they're my friend or someone I know. I'll just mute them in my feed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
I'm doing a bit of that at the moment just for my own little sanity, I guess, being the way the world is at the moment, which is, I guess, a really good segue into my next question, which was you mentioned earlier about decluttering mindset. So I just wanted to touch on that as to what that looks like.
yes, well, a lot of it comes from the external stuff that comes in and influences the way we think about stuff. So again, the social media is a huge thing because we'll often see what other people are doing, or even just on your Facebook feed. I'm in lockdown at the moment, having to isolate 14 days. I don't think I'm at high risk, but that's the rule. So I've got to isolate for 14 days. And someone in another state, in Queensland might be posting, a picture of them going on a mini break for the week and going on a road trip with their family. And you go, oh, and if it makes you feel bad, mute it in your feed. Just
Yeah.
unfollow it. So there's a lot of external stuff that comes in, and I think you really do have to curate what is penetrating your world from the outside, not being ignorant or, not tuning out from news altogether, but, I watch the news or keep updated with what's happening in the news just for practical reasons. I need to know what's going on, what's happening with COVID restrictions, but I don't want to be absorbed in it every day and stewing on it. So you've really got to guard what comes into your world. Another big thing is making sure you don't pick up your phone first thing in the morning.
Okay. Yep.
And so I do this thing that one of my coaches, Carly Marie, talks about, and she calls it scribbles before scrolls. So rather than saying I'm not going to look at my phone for an hour, you say, before I pick up my phone today, I'm just going to get my notebook, my journal and a pen, and just brain dump anything that's coming out of my head. And it might be total gobbledygook, but I think it's just getting, your thoughts going. And sometimes, I get my best creative ideas from that undumping process from my brain.
Yeah.
And that helps declutter my mind as well. And that's really important to do before you let anything external in. So I don't like to give it a time frame. So I don't say, I'm not going to look at my phone for 2 hours in the morning. But I do say, before I look at anything external, I'm going to have a shower, because a shower, lots of white noise, nothing penetrating your world. That's when I get a lot of my best ideas. And I might journal for a bit, even if it's like a couple of paragraphs or even sometimes a couple of sentences. And depending what mood I'm in, it might just be my to-do list. But if I'm in a more creative mood, there might be some great, ideas for social media posts or videos or podcasts I want to record, that kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. My audience is well aware that mine is my bath. I have great ideas come to me at the bath, but that's not a morning thing, I guess. That's an evening thing. But yes, I'm quite often seen racing back up to the office to get a pen and paper to write down this brilliant idea before I forget. So I think it is that, having that opportunity to clear and to let your mind be creative, because we are so busy. I did hear a mindset coach the other day. I was listening to a podcast say, with the news, watch 10 minutes a day, know what you need to know, and then move on. Don't switch it on again. But I think you make such a valid point with, be really aware of who you're letting in and what you're letting in, because I think that can really, not only in our personal lives, but definitely affect our business lives as well, especially if you're a solopreneur.
Yeah. And I think at night, sometimes as business owners, we can stay up at night. Our minds are so awake, and it can stop us from sleeping because we have so many ideas, or I've got to do this and this and this. I don't know if you remember that Sarah Jessica Parker movie called I Don't Know How She Does It. And she's like a busy working mama too. And she's lying in bed, like wide awake. And they do the voiceover where she's like going through her to-do list in her head of, I've got to do this and I've got to do this and I've got to do this. And she goes, oh no, that's hubby's job. I'll put that on his list. Hang on, he doesn't have a list. He doesn't have a list in his head. And I've been doing this for quite a few years, where if I have something on my mind that I know I need to do, I'll either write it down or put it on the notes app in my phone, or even do a voice note to myself. Sometimes I'll just pick up my phone and go, Siri, add a note that I need to blah, 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 blah. And she'll write the note for me.
Yeah.
That's a new thing I've been doing, so I don't even have to type it in myself.
Yeah,
but I'll do that so that I'm not holding it in my head. And I think when you hold things in your head, it stops you from being able to focus, or it stops you from being able to relax and sleep. And I just like to get it out of my head and know that it's in safekeeping on the notes app on my phone. And then every week I will go through my journal or the notes on my phone and transfer any good ideas and things like that to my Trello board. So I have a Trello board on my computer.
Yeah, awesome. Very good. I think for anyone who's waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with great ideas, the trick is to get them out of your head to get back to sleep quicker. I'm a little bit like you. I have either a pen and paper, or I'll write them in my notes. I'm also known to send myself notes that go, hey, Jen, when you wake up in the morning, remember that you thought, so I get a bit of a chuckle at my own self when the next morning when I've sent myself a message. So if you want a bit of a chuckle and a really good idea, then that sometimes can help as well. Mel, you mentioned very early on in the interview how you decluttered your life and your house. And probably your mindset as well over the last few years. Can you tell us just what sort of changes have you found in yourself and as a business owner from doing that? What are the I guess the positives of doing that?
Well, the immediate benefits of decluttering your physical space is you don't feel so overwhelmed because you can't see physical clutter. So immediately it's literally like, and this is what a lot of my clients will say when I've worked with them, it's literally like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders
Mm-hmm.
because you're not carrying that clutter around with you anymore. Because even if you're in a different room, you're carrying it up here in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, just the overwhelmed feeling, especially if you're a person like me who needs order around me in order to feel like I can function properly. Otherwise, I just feel like there's always something to do. There's always something to pick up or clean. And of course, immediate tangible benefits, less to clean, less to tidy, less to pick up. But it also highlights what's important to you. So even with my kids' toys, I've gotten rid of so many toys and they only have a certain amount of space to keep toys. And I think a lot of people think, oh, you're depriving your kids. But when you think about it, and this applies to toys, clothes, anything, books, probably, well, maybe not books if you're a book lover, but we use 20% of our stuff 80% of the time. And I really saw that with my kids because they would always go to play with their favorite toys. And my daughter had, her big fifth birthday party a couple of months ago, and it's probably the most kids I've invited to a birthday party. And she got so many presents and she loved them all, but I would notice that she would play with certain ones more, and a couple of them she hadn't even touched. So I did re-gift a few things or donate some things, and a couple of the other things I put away, in case she wants to play with them later. But I don't keep everything out because it just takes you more time to declutter and that kind of thing. Other benefits were really discovering what I had a passion for. So one thing I did was I went through and I did an exercise called decluttering your fantasy self. So I got rid of all the hobby stuff that I bought, the craft stuff that I thought I'd use and I didn't. I even decluttered my kitchen stand mixer that, I thought I wanted this fancy kitchen stand mixer to be like Nigella and be the domestic goddess. And then half the time, even when I baked, I wouldn't use it. So I got rid of that. But I kept the things that were important to me. So, I kept all my filming gear. I kept the books that were precious to me, the sentimental items that were precious to me. Because I think when you've got too much stuff, it's that situation of you can't see the wood for the trees because there's so much stuff that you can't actually see the things that are important to you, and you end up not using them or not valuing them because you're just overwhelmed by so much stuff. And again, it helps you to rediscover your passions. So, if I did discover a passion for baking, maybe I would have started cooking classes or something, but instead I chose to teach people how to declutter, and it's completely changed my life. I left my corporate job a couple of years ago, and I knew that I wanted to be more creative. And I think too, as you grow up, you're kind of conditioned to, follow a certain path. You go through school and expected to go to uni, get your degree. Well, I was, and I was even expected to do certain subjects at uni by my parents. But when I decluttered everything, I thought, I've got this craving to learn how to make videos and to write more and things like that. And so I discovered a creative part of myself that I thought I'd lost. I was very creative as a child. So yeah, when you clear all that stuff away, it really becomes apparent, what your passions are and the direction you think you want to go in life, which was a total unexpected benefit. I thought it was just physically decluttering my home so that I didn't feel so overwhelmed and tired with all the cleaning up I had to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. That I don't think I've heard that story before from you, Mel. So yeah, that's I love that. Like just by doing something you think will help you have a tidier house could actually bring you so much bigger benefits. I know we did some things together last year, and I remember hearing you talking about decluttering, and I decluttered my kitchen drawers after a conversation that we had, but I didn't throw it out because I don't like throwing things out, but I put them in buckets. And you know what? I haven't touched those buckets in what is now about 7 months. So all of those kitchen implements that I needed to buy, I actually haven't gone looking for. I think maybe the melon baller came out at during summer that perhaps it was more winter when I did the pack up. So it's really interesting when you take things away, like you say, to really learn exactly what it is that you need and exactly what it is that we use. And for the toys, myself, like my baby is 17, so I've got 21, 18 and 17 years old. And the things we've kept are the Lego and the train tracks and the My Little Ponies type things. Other than that, everything else went. So,
That's
what are you going to,
fantastic.
yeah. So what are you going to keep when they get older? You think they need all these things, but really they probably only have a few treasures that they want to keep in the end. So
Exactly.
yeah, really interesting. Mel, this has been such a great chat. I think there's been so many pieces of gold in here. Is there anything we haven't covered that you just wanted to chat about before we wrap up?
Well, I think a lot of people, they watch a lot of programs, like Hoarders or, a lot of the TV shows, which
That's
are
one of
great
my
because,
favorites.
yeah, there's Space Invaders on Channel 9 at the moment. You can watch it, I think, on demand because and I'm just about to film series 2, actually. And I love Peter Walsh. He's an organizing guru. And I think he was on Oprah quite a few times as well. He's written a lot of books. And I love those programs. But you've got to remember when you watch those TV shows, it's not always realistic because they do it in such a short time frame. They have big teams of people that come in and then they get the junk trucks and take everything away and get salvos to come in and take everything away. And I think people start decluttering and they expect that to be the case for them, that they can do it all within a weekend or a couple of weeks. And I think you need to be patient with yourself and also remember that decluttering is like a muscle. So it can be really hard to declutter the first time because you're not, you haven't built up that muscle. So making those decisions about what you're going to keep and what you're going to let go can be really hard, particularly with the harder categories like sentimental items. So for me, it took me several rounds of decluttering my whole house, and some rooms took more rounds than others to really get it to the state it is now. And there's even now these things that I see and go, oh, I need to redo that room because I feel like I'm ready to let go of even more stuff that we just don't use. So yeah, those shows are good for motivation and inspiration, ideas on how to declutter and how to organize, but it's not realistic. So, usually it takes time and you've got to be kind to yourself and just, it's like anything, practice makes progress, and you fine tune your sense of basically how comfortable you are at letting go of things. Yeah. So it's like your decluttering muscle gets stronger in a sense.
And sometimes you get euphoria from walking into that room going, oh, it's so much nicer in here now. Now all that other stuff is gone. I find that with my desk. I sit down, like I decluttered my desk the other day. I was like, oh, wow, this feels so much better. There's only like one sticky note as opposed to 300 sticky notes that all have something important written on them.
And my big tip is to always take a before picture and an after picture. Yeah, because then you can really see the difference and it gives you such a sense of achievement. And particularly if you've got a lot to declutter, take pictures along the way. So if you feel like, oh my God, I just have not made a dent in this room or this cupboard or whatever, and if you have another go at it 2 months later and look at the photo from 2 months ago, you'll actually realize that you actually have made quite a bit of progress. You just can't immediately see it because it still looks like there's a lot less. And I take photos of what the piles of stuff I've decluttered as well. I mean, for social media, but it helps to motivate me. And I go, hey, actually, good job. I actually got rid of quite a few things.
Oh, awesome. Mel, this has been so good. Thank you so much for giving up your time in lockdown and in isolation. I really do appreciate it. If anyone wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way to find, where will they find you?
So on my website, which is simplymel.com.au, and I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. So on Instagram, it's simplymel01, and all the links to my socials are on the website as well. And, all the links to the podcast, and because I've got a podcast and the YouTube channel as well.
Quickly tell us about the podcast.
Oh, so the podcast, I've been going since October, and you'll be so proud of me, Jen. I haven't missed a weekly episode since I started in October, and I'm determined that lockdown won't ruin that. So I actually batch recorded 3 episodes other day because I thought I got up super early at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. the other day because I couldn't sleep because, lockdown vibes and everything going on. So I thought I'm going to be really productive and I'll smash it out before everyone gets up. And so now I've got some going through to August. So,
Beautiful.
even with everybody home and the chaos, I know I'm still going to be able to do that. So, I talk all about decluttering and minimalism, and I interview some great guests on there as well. About, sort of things related to simple living, not necessarily always minimalism and decluttering, but related topics. So,
and what was the name of the podcast? Sorry.
Simple You, and it's
Simple
on all
You.
major podcast platforms, or you can access it through my website.
Beautiful. I will have the links to all those in the show notes as well. But Mel, thank you so much for your time. It's been great.
Thanks so much for having me, Jen. And it's so nice to talk to someone other than my family while I'm in lockdown.
Oh, dear. Only in 2021.
Yep. Thanks, Jen.
I really hope that you enjoyed that chat with Mel. All her links to her podcast and YouTube and website and socials are in the show notes. So the show notes, of course, will be sitting at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/145. But again, I hope you really enjoyed that chat with Mel, and she's inspired you to maybe do some decluttering in your life. When I was listening back to this episode, in production, I actually got up my Canva files and started deleting and filing them and decluttering them. So clearly she inspired me to take action. Now just for my inboxes, but that's a whole different story, and I may never survive decluttering my inboxes. I would really love you to let me know in the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group what parts of your digital life or real life need decluttering. Mel is actually in the group as well, so feel free to tag her with any questions you might have. And of course, if you haven't joined the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group, come and join. Just go to Facebook and search Like-Minded Business Owners and join up. I'd love to see you over there. But that's it for another episode. That's it for episode 145. If you're enjoying this podcast, and because you've listened this far, I'm assuming you are, I'd really love you to share this with another superstar business owner who's doing that daily grind and would really appreciate someone making their business life simpler, and maybe even think about decluttering with Mel as well. If you have time for a rating and a review, a huge heart thank you for that. Producing weekly content like this does take considerable work, although I am getting very good at doing it a lot quicker than what I used to, but still it's a lot of work. So just that small thank you that you could give by leaving a rating or a review or both would really warm my heart. Otherwise, I will be back next week for episode 146. But in the meantime, are we hanging out on social? Let's get social on social. You will, of course, find me at Instagram at JenDonovan_. Facebook, come and join the Like-Minded Business Owners group, or come and find me on LinkedIn. I really do love to hang out on LinkedIn. And of course, I'm just Jen Donovan over there. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.